introduction, but I have to do it. But I consider it even more important than this interview. Although this interview is also important. The first line in my preface to The Eye of the Earth is farmer born, peasant bred. Yes, my father was a farmer. My mother was a cloth weaver. It was a polygynous family. Everybody had to go to the farm. About 5 years ago, an American friend of mine asked me, a white American, it's important to mention that, Niyi, what books did your parents read to you when you were a child? So I said, no, books? Yeah, what books did they read to you? I said, none. No, come on, let's get serious. Now, what book? I said, none. My father had a library. That library was full of yams. I watched my mother sing. I heard her sing as she pushed the akpasa through the vertical loom which leaned against the wall. She was, and I watched threads and threads and threads of cotton become pieces of fabric. That was actually how the first uniform I wore to St. Luke's School in 1953, January, that was how it was made. It came from my mother's loom and it went straight to my uncle's machine. This was the Nigeria I grew up in. But I had very proud parents. Both of them actually often said, "You will remember, Mama, know me." It is book knowledge I don't have. I know my inside. It taught me the difference between good and bad, between right and wrong. My father was either working or eating or sleeping. It was difficult for him to rest. The man, the only time he went to hospital was when he died. He was such a hard worker. And I kept on asking him, how can it work so hard? And he would say, the hand that doesn't work must not produce the mouth that eats. And as he was working on the farm, he was singing. Many of those songs translated into village voices. Many of them translated into so many of the poems I have been writing. Actually, the word is an egg. Enyilum. That was my mother's favorite saying. My mother is, a very quiet person. Mama Onisuru will be watching, but extremely deep. Enyilum. No. She was a cloth dyer too. When I was reading Ake, I read how the white Christian's room was always smelling of indigo and fermented ogi. That was what my mother's room was like too. All these little sensibilities work wondrously on us, because they go into our subliminal, to our subconscious, and we don't even know where they are coming from. That's why inspiration is so difficult to define. So, my parents never joked with bookwork. In those days when Nigeria was a country and we had an educational system, it is ironical. Our country was better under the colonial system. It's a pity. Oh yes, the kind of school I attended, every Friday there must be a report sheet. If you came first, your first will be in red. If you came second, blue. If you came third, Kandahar, deep black. My father saw that thing only once and he memorized the colors. So you brought, the first thing my father would ask you when he came back from the farm on Louis, where's your result? I will show it to him. Can it be done? Last week it was red. Now, the person who came first, did he come from heaven? So ambition, he made us ambitious without making us unnecessarily aggressive. There is no magic in the little success I've been able to achieve. I lay it at the door of my parents and my teachers. They have been wonderful people.
So, what books did you eventually read at that stage?
The Bible. Okay. It was was a Christian school, St. Luke's. You know, it was a package deal. It was a Christian school. So, but the interesting thing again is that when I was going to school, my father called me and told me, consider yourself as a person going to this school with one hand. I want you to return with two hands. Because it's only when you swing to both hands by your side that you can run the race of life. What my father was saying is, this culture that you grew up in, this education we provided for you, hold it in your hand, your left hand, so that you will not swallow the morsel of pounded yam with it. Whatever the white man is able to give you in that school, bring it home. The two of them are important. Walk in balance. Walk in balance. It was a typical Yoruba phenomenon. Additive, not replacive. Not binary. Put the two together. And this has been it. The Bible. Oh yes. I loved the Bible. Those stories. Why? Because they connected easily with our folk tales. I didn't see any difference between Jabesh Gilead, these are Amalek, and so on. In the evening or at night, it would be the tortoise and Jabba and Yanibo and so on. All those things really engaged my imagination. I often say that I became literate ever before I put pen to paper. And that I encountered Shakespeare on the streets of Ikere ever before I went to school. So this was it. We define literacy in different ways.
How did you encounter Shakespeare?
Our culture. Olosunta Festival. Olosunta is central to my creative essence. Olosunta, Ikere is so rocky. There is Olosunta, there is Orole, there is Ugeli. The three of them compete for your sight when you enter Ikere. Orole Baba Uke. Olosunta Ikere. Olosunta, the sky of Ikere. You look at Olosunta from one part of Ikere, it looks like a buffalo. You look at it from another side, it looks like a sleeping elephant. You look at it from yet another side, it has a nondescript shape. You know, so that imagination itself, and the festival that goes along with it. Oshun Festival. Oshun is the one worshipped in my family. In Yeloshun, my aunt. Then Oloba, Ologun, in Yelishango, they were all around. This is part of what I was saying in the morning. We all cooperated, we all celebrated all these festivals. I never heard anyone say, my God is superior to yours. Yeah. There was no war. No. And this is actually the accommodating, inclusive mentality that I developed growing up in Yoruba land. When it was time, Alawiye, Odunjo, and then Fagunwa. Oh, Fagunwa. Yeah, we were there celebrating Fagunwa 2 years ago. You know, Fagunwa also came to us on radio. Nobody was rich enough to buy radios, and it was radio diffusion boxes we had. We would all stand or sit below the radio diffusion box and hear Ayoka from Fagunwa. All these things sharpened imagination. Then, when it was time for me to start reading Alawi and so on, I was reading them and enjoying them. Later on, English. There were no African books to read at that time, written in English. What is it? Tom Brown's School Days, King Solomon's Mines, Alan Quatermain, She That Must Be Obeyed, and so on. We read all those things. But the mangling of the African personality in those words struck me. Gagul, Twala. How come African characters are so ugly? And white characters were so good? They were the ones in charge. Even at the elementary level, we were saying this. Until the secondary school, when I encountered things fall apart. Often people ask me, why do I like Ajibabe so much? It's not just a matter of liking. I was speaking to him virtually every month. Sunday, the last Sunday of the month before he died. I still spoke to him November. He died in March. I spoke to him in November, his birthday. In 1965, my class discovered things fall apart. Fortunately, it was on our school certificate syllabus. We took to that novel. Oh yes, and named one another after the characters. You are American, you are this and that. So, and today when I write, I feel the impact of Ajibabe's style in my work the same way I feel the impact of the style of Soyinka and J.P. Clark. J.P. Clark and Soyinka are poets. Ajibabe is not known as a poet, but it is the linguistic and cultural mentality I'm talking about. The way they've been able to bend the English language to accommodate the African experience. So I took to books. Oh yes, voracious. And anywhere I went, I practiced my literacy on walls all over the place. And my mother would be cleaning those things. I wrote stories on the door of our house, in Kennedy. My uncle would get there and say, I can wake a You know, it was in the blood, as it were. So it started from these very, very humble beginnings. And then we started reading the big books after we had mastered the vocabulary, the alphabet and the vocabulary well enough.
Thank you very much for that.